Welcome back to Brunch, a taste of Tobago. Oh, my kings and my queens. I just want to thank you so much for staying with us. It has been such a wonderful time just spending time with you. I missed you guys so much. And like I said, Brunch is one of those shows that we touch on so many things. You know, one of those things is educating and also empowering. And so we speak with a very lovely young lady today. She walked through the door and I realized, oh my gosh, Tobago is so small. And I actually know this person. Oh my. Let us welcome from the Fisheries Department, the Division of
Security.
say
It's a
it for
very
me.
long name.
It's long, yes.
I hope I can remember it offhand. I think it's the Department of the
Food
Division, sorry,
Division
of
of
Food
Food
Security,
Security, Natural Resources,
Resources,
the
and
Environment,
Sustainable
Sustainable Development.
Development.
Yes. Jenise Kirk joins us, and Jenise hails from our lovely Fisheries Department.
Yes.
Fisheries Service Officer.
Yes.
Did I say it correctly?
Fisheries Services
Services
Officer,
Officer.
yes.
Right. I wanted to make sure I got it correctly. And you're going to be speaking with us on safety at sea.
Yes,
Now,
safety
this
at
is
sea.
so important.
Very much.
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, safety, we don't see safety as, well, I wouldn't say we, but a lot of people don't see safety as a priority. Safety is something that we need to take holistically. It begins long before somebody actually gets on a vessel and goes to sea.
Right.
Now, I would like to consider here for a moment safety. It begins with a mindset. So somebody who decides I want to be a fisherman, what is the mindset? What is the motive to be a fisherman?
Right.
Right? Is it that I didn't do so well in school and I just is like the last resort to making ends meet, or is it that somebody sees themselves as a businessman? I am a fisherman, I am a businessman. And a lot of times we don't see that in the industry, fishermen seeing themselves as entrepreneurs, as businessmen. So you would find that they don't invest in the business of fishing as, let's say, a farmer would or somebody with a store would, right? They don't see themselves from that perspective. So obviously, if you don't see yourself from the perspective of a businessman or someone who is there to gain and to grow in a certain way, then you would not invest in safety in the way that you would. From my years of being in fisheries, I've been in fisheries for about 12 years. In December, would make it 12.
Yes.
I have seen very few fishermen would have taken the route of me being a businessman, and they would have grown, flourished, benefited in a great way. These are the ones that actually invest in safety. I could call a few names: Lance Bigat, my good friend Lance,
right.
Mark Chakaran. Good morning,
Mark.
I hope they are viewing.
Yes.
But they would have invested. Those are the fishermen you will see put on their life jackets as soon as they go on the vessel. Say, no, they're going to sea. And that's something that's not very much practiced throughout Tobago. So the mindset and the reason for being entering the trade of fishing is very important. One of the other things that needs to be considered before even going on a vessel to go to sea is the design of the vessel. We see a lot of people in the past would have said, well, I was somebody and I know how to build a boat, so I would buy the material and I would try to build the boat for myself. But there is a lot of physics behind the design of the vessel.
Oh, yes.
Yes, the shape of the hull. Remember, on a road, the road is stable. It doesn't move, so the conditions are stable, more stable than in the sea. Now, in the ocean, the current change, the wind changes, and you have that constant change of environment. And so, out of nowhere, a wave can come from the left, from the right, from any direction. And if the vessel is, the hull of the vessel or the design of the vessel is not well put together, then the entire vessel could flip. And there you split second you are in a situation of, a dangerous situation, a
Yes.
life-threatening situation. So vessel design is important. The type of material you use is important, because at the base, a lot of the fishermen use wood in the fiberglass type vessels. They use wood for the frame, and then you have to know how to layer the fiberglass and all the material,
There you
because you
go.
want the vessel to be watertight. You don't want at 2 hours into the fishing trip, the vessel starts separating on you at the sea, in the ocean,
Yeah.
and then you have to find your way back inshore in that situation. So see, design is very important, because sometimes the shape, some people, the bow stem, it is designed to cut through the wave. Some people make
Yes.
it a little too broad, or it depends on the design, the designer of the vessel, and you have to know who to go to, and you have to, of course, there are seasoned fishermen, boat builders that would have been in the trade for a very long time, and
Right.
they would have known how to adjust based on, their years of experience and the feedback they would have gotten from their customers. And they are the ones that would have gone to, let's say, Canada, for example. Shout out to Joel Hart at this time. He's one of the younger and very good boat builders that I've come into knowing, and he would have done a lot of nice designs, very
Right.
state-of-the-art designs, and he would have studied that in Canada. All right, so we have boat builders who are very well educated, knowledgeable, and skilled, and so it's advised that those are the ones that you go to get your vessels built. When the vessel is being constructed, the colors that you paint the vessel in is very important.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. So in the event that a fisherman gets into difficulty at sea and they are adrift, sometimes we have to engage the air guard and so on to assist in locating them from the air. And if the color of the inside of the vessel is very similar to the water, depending on the light and the color of the water and so on, it might be very difficult to notice. So the color of the
Right.
vessel is also very important. So the inside, you notice some fishermen, they use colors like pink, so
Very
it is,
bright
yes, and contrasting.
colors.
Yes. All right. And that's before you go to sea. But also education is very important. And as I said before, if you don't see fishing as something important to you, and you just jump on a boat and you just want to make $1 at the end of the day, then investing in education, getting to know things like basic first aid. And with first aid, there are some educational institutions that tailor it specifically to the sea, like the Caribbean Fisheries Training and Development Institute, the CFTDI. They tailor their courses specific to marine users, marine entrepreneurs, right?
Right.
We have places like the Marine Safety Training and Consultants Limited. We have in Tobago the Tobago Sea School. All right, they do courses specific to the marine environment, like Boatmaster 1, Boatmaster 2, pre-sea training,
Right. Okay.
firefighting, specific to, as I said, the marine environment. All right. I actually did a first aid training course recently, and I was so surprised. I didn't know Jarek used to provide first aid training. Yes, and so that was really nice to know. Matter of fact, I would touch on. I could talk about it now. We did series of training with stakeholders recently, in collaboration with Woodside Energy.
Okay.
They would have hired Jarek to do defensive driving for fisher folk and Red Cross to do first aid. And that's one of the initiatives that our division would have engaged in alongside other stakeholders, Woodside Energy. So we did it in 5 different areas. We had Palatavir, we had Buku, we had Betsy's Hope, Castara, right? And there's one more I don't remember offhand. But we did those 2 trainings with those fisher folk. Right, we had, I think it was 22, 23. Forgive me if I peep at my notes.
Yes. Oh, but, yes, she has notes.
we had done VHF training with the FAO. They would have collaborated with us, and we did training. We would have targeted about 80 fisher folk, but only 50 would have shown up, and that was with a lot of prompting. Now, guys, if you know fisher folk, they prefer to go to sea and make money than to come out to a training program,
Yeah.
especially if the training program is all day or 2 days or 3 days, right? And it comes back to what I would have said before. Your priority, is it how you view yourself as an entrepreneur or just here to make money? And investing in knowledge is very important, because it means then that in a certain situation you will be equipped. All right. And I must say at this point, shout out to Mark Jaikaran. I would say that again and again. Mark brought his entire crew to learn first aid. And he brought his first mate and the outboard engine training program, and they learned it. They came the full 3 days and they learned it. And I admire things like that, because it says to me you are not just thinking about yourself but the other guy on board. And if anything is to happen, then at least we both have the knowledge that we could put heads together, or I could do something, you could do something, to ensure that we both reach back to our family safely.
Definitely,
And yes, so I just want to say kudos to those fisher folk who actually spend time to get the knowledge, the information. Getting to know what the law requires is very important. At our department, and you asked about registration earlier. Yes. Registration of your fishing vessel is very important. And at this point, we have just changed it started in Trinidad before, but we have just transitioned into the new registration process. It's much longer, but it also it includes Maritime Services Division. Now, according to law, and this is since in the 1980s, Maritime Services Division is required to register every single vessel operating and owned in Trinidad and Tobago. And now they have included fishing vessels. And if you go long time, when you go to the beach, you'll see the vessel, especially in Tobago, TFT, a TFT number at the tip of the bow.
Yes.
Now you would see gradually increasing, you would see two numbers, the TT number at the top and the TFT number at the bottom. That is because they are fulfilling their requirements in terms of registration of vessels. So they have a surveyor that will go out and do their thing, and they would issue a TT number to that vessel. Now, fisheries by law also is required to establish a record of commercial fishing vessels. Now, we would have been doing that all along. TFT for Tobago, and different areas in Trinidad, you will see different things. But the TFT number represents the record of Tobago fishing vessels, commercial fishing vessels, and the TTA means Trinidad and Tobago.
With a Brunch, a taste of Tobago. I was just dubbing my shoulders to the beat there. You guys caught me. Welcome back to Brunch. Oh my gosh, Jenise, we left off.
Yes.
And you were giving us some really pertinent information. So I'm just gonna go back to you and let you do what you do.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes. So marine communication is also very important, and learning marine communication is essential, especially to the mariner, to the boat user, the people operating on the sea. Now, for those of us who have ever been in a tragic situation or some situation of sudden panic or something like that, you would know that there's a moment where you black out. You don't know what to do.
Yeah, brain fog.
Right. Right. And you do what's natural for you at that point in time. So I would say this: practicing proper marine communication etiquette and proper navigational etiquette is something that needs to be done from the get-go. So when you practice that every day, when a situation happens at sea, you are well prepared. Even if you're going to a state of panic, then your body knows what to do. You will start, responding in that way. And so I would say there are some fisher folk I know, especially some of those in the Castara region. They make it a habit when they're leaving the landing site, they would radio into the North Coast, the Coast Guard, North Coast,
Yes.
and they would, they would say, I'm going so, I'm leaving at this time, I'm going XYZ. And that's good. But there's a way to communicate on the VHF.
VHF.
And we would have done some training, as I said before, with the ODPM1 and also with the FAO. We would have had a training series with them. And I said before, we went on the break, 50 participants, and I think that was a really good turnout in different locations at different times. I think it was before, let me see, between November 23rd and March 22nd. No, November 23rd in 2022,
Right.
and the 22nd of March 2023. Each training session was 3 days, and one of the days they had a practical session, so which was good. They actually got to practice exactly what was taught. And in one special case, the FAO would have given, each person had a handheld radio, but they had to pay for the TAT license and complete the full course before they could get the marine radio, which I thought was really nice because, fishermen, they would say, well, I'll go the first day and try to get the radio.
Yeah. You had to
yes,
go the whole
complete
mile.
everything. Yes.
Yes.
Right. And in this special case, the FAO gave us a base station in Castara, so they got to do the practical at that base station.
Right.
It was really nice. So some of them went out on the boat, and there was a crew in the office where the base station is located, and they got to do the practice in the exact call, the Mayday call. And
so it was very hands-on.
Yes, very hands-on.
Yes.
They got to do the practice, and I thought that was really good. But what I'm saying is that it needs to be practiced. And this is where I kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but the fishing associations are so important. And sometimes I feel as though a lot of people don't know the roles that the association should be playing. Or maybe the idea behind the association may not have been what maybe our idea of it is. But to help in readiness, preparedness, they play a very key role. And I would say in terms of getting drills, periodic drills set up so that the fishermen could be well prepared, and so that, as I said before, when you are in a situation of trouble, what is inside will come out.
Yes.
So continuous drills so that you would know exactly, the fisher folk will be prepared to know what to do in the event that they go out to sea, and before they know it, some wave, some swell come from somewhere, a wave turn over the boat, and it's because, you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. But let me go ahead. So preparing for sea. So we get the boats already, and, we are about to go to sea. There are some things that we need to do.
Definitely.
Right? We young people love to be on the cell phones, and sometimes we would be on the cell phones whole night, and then in the morning you're ready to leave, the cell phone saying 25%. No,
yes.
When you're a fisherman, that cannot be so, because there are no branches at sea, there are no charger ports at sea. You can't pull in by Port Mall and charge a phone for 10 minutes and then catch a car to go somewhere. No,
yes.
There's nothing like that at sea. When you are at sea, you look around, all you see is white and horizon, right? But charging your phone is very important. Yes, we know that the cell ranges reach a certain distance, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, B-Mobile is about 15 miles. I'm not sure. Digicel about 22. I'm not sure if that has changed. But you need to have cell phones. I know that sometimes, depending on where you're located, you can have connectivity to make a call. But having a cell phone, and in some cases you could have a spare battery, right? A very good colleague of mine taught me something a long time ago. Having a sea bucket is very important. The pigtail buckets, you can screw on the top and screw it right.
Oh, yes.
So plastic is very buoyant in water, and when you have a sealed plastic containment, it will float. No matter what happens, it will float. And so, shout out to Mr. Holmes at this point. I hope he's watching. All right. So in the sea bucket, you could have a spare battery for your cell phone. There are a number of things that could fit in the sea bucket, right? You could have a piece of mirror. Now, the purpose of the piece of mirror, well, you should have a piece of mirror. Of course, the sea is very bright, and you have a reflective surface like a mirror. If you are in distress and a vessel is passing, you can use that to draw attention to yourself for a rescue. You can have you should have a fully charged GPS in your sea bucket. And the purpose of that is, and backup, battery
Yes.
power.
Backup is
Backup is
important.
important. A compass, because anybody who has been to the beach and something floating, you know that you just turn. When you are in one position, the ocean just turns you around, swings you back, and then after a while you get disoriented. You don't know where north is, you don't know where south is. But of course, if you're in the bay, you know. But at sea, everything is white. You don't have a clue where east, west, north, and south is. And you need a compass. Definitely need a compass.
Right.
Ration is important. Some people don't like to carry food at sea. And I'm not talking about like dumpling and fish. I'm talking about like cricks, something that has extended life, right? Shelf life. Cricks or granola bars or something like that you could have as backup in the event that you get stranded and you have to spend like a day or two, a week at sea. You can, ration, take your time, and you have your energy to keep you going until. All right. Flares are very important because in the night the chances are your boat doesn't have light on it, but you could use the flares to signal to a passing vessel, this is where I am. One of the very important things that I would have learned is that shutting off your engine is important, especially if you don't know where you're at or where you're going to. All right. Why is that important? Keeping fuel in your engine, in your gas tank, is very, very, very necessary in the event that you are, let's just say the engine, you are lost, you have a little fuel, and the chances of starting the engine to move out of the way if a big ship is coming, having that fuel is very important, right? A radar reflector is very important on the vessel, because large ships, little boats, the radar may not pick you up if you don't have a radar reflector. They may not see you, especially if the light is reflecting on the surface of the sea in a certain way, or it's twilight or it's dark. All right, and you need to have something that could identify you on that radar. All right. Keeping a sound mind in a situation of tragedy is very, very important.
Oh yes, very.
We see on war movies, you see the soldiers have cards playing, or they might have a little photo of a family member. It keeps them going. It gives them a reason to keep their mind in that place. I have to go home. I have to go home. I have to live to go home.
Yes.
Right? So having a pack of cards or a photo of a family member, some loved one, is very important.
Oh, yes.
We also advocate to wear, one of the first things before you even start the engine to leave is wear a life jacket. Now, a lot of people don't like to practice wearing the life jacket, and even the purchase of the correct life jacket is important. There are some that are just there as designer pieces, it looks pretty, and there are some that are required by international law.
Yes.
So it's very important to know, to get that knowledge, so that when you purchase your life jacket, and if I'm not mistaken, they have expiration dates. So you have to know when to change your life jacket, because you don't want a situation to come up where you are in the water and the life jacket has long expired and you are expecting to float, but it doesn't happen, right? So yes, the life jacket is very important. And there's a reason the life jacket is usually in international orange. It is because it is easily noticed from a long distance.
Oh.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yes.
It makes sense, yeah.
Yes. Right. Having comfortable clothes, not just comfortable clothes, but clothes that covers your skin, long shirt, clothes that covers your legs. The material should be like dry dry fit material, I think they call it dry fit, so that it will keep you cool. And having a plastic or a tarpaulin somewhere aboard the vessel, so that if you are stranded during the day, the heat doesn't dehydrate you.
Right.
So you could
Yes.
cover the vessel and you could keep cool in the shade of the tarpaulin. And at night, it will keep you from getting hypothermia.
Yes.
Yes. Also, let's see.
What about telling someone where you're going?
Yes, of course, that's very important.
Really important.
A lot of people like to say, you know what, I don't want nobody to know where my fishing ground is because I would get competition at that fishing ground. Or if I have a fad, I don't want nobody to know where my fad is because they would come and catch all the fish around my fad. Right? But it's quite important to say, have a body, or even as I said before, the associations are important. You could mention to someone in the association, a member of the association, I'm going XYZ, or somebody you trust. I'm going in this location by location, GPS location, or sometimes they use markers like of sisters of Castara, of sisters. They go there to do diving and that kind of thing.
Yes.
So you mentioned where you're going because it will indicate to someone if you don't show up after a certain while, the time you are expected to show up, then they could say to the Coast Guard or the search and rescue team, the last place he said he was going was of Sisters or 2 miles north of Sisters. So they would know where to start to search.
Yes.
Because they can use the time, they could have an idea based on the time that you were out there and the time you were expected to come back and the flow of the current to know which direction to search. Because remember I said in the ocean, there's not much you could go with based on like a landmark or so. But GPS location, or even if there is a rock or so, at least you could start there and you could follow the tide pattern to know where. And there's very much seasoned fishermen who would know the flow of tide in certain areas. The Coast Guard certainly know, they have an idea of the flow of the tide, the flow of the currents, and it will give them an idea of where to look. All right. So telling someone where you're going, telling a family member where you're going, as I said earlier, radioing in and letting the Coast Guard base know where you're going. That's very important. It gives an idea of where to look in the event that something happens.
And you know, Jenise, we want to thank you so much. I know there's so much more we need to talk about, so you know that you have to come back, right? Because there's so much that we did not know about safety at sea and the preparation, what you need to have. And I love the fact that you have it in such order. Guys, she had her notes ready, you know, really doing the most this morning. So we want to thank you so much for coming in.
For having me.
You're most welcomed, and blessings to you from our family to yours. We're going to take a break and we're going to be right back with more Brunch, a taste of Tobago. But before we do that, our trivia question for today: what world-renowned dance was invented right here in Tobago? Get to typing. We want to see what you come up with. We're going to be right back with more Brunch, a taste of Tobago.